Hello and welcome to our year-end edition of Pro Baseball World Tour here on RGC Multimedia. My name is Rick Crabb, and joining me from his spring training facility in Florida, we have Mr. Eric Marenbach. Eric, happy holidays. How was your holiday weekend, sir?
I'm trying to decide whether to go with the Australian accent, since we've actually had a couple of games there, or the Spanish accent, being the fact that I'm watching between my remotes a Dominican round-robin playoff game or a regular season Venezuelan game all at the same time, which is making my thumb kind of tired, but hey.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Oh, man, you're starting to get clicker thumb. Look out.
Oh, it's fun. I mean, you people that bitch and complain about, having video game thumbs, I have remote control thumb.
Oh, there you go. But you play through it. You know, it's one thing about playing hurt, another thing about playing injured. So you know. So.
Is that supposed to be a free plug for NC software? I don't know. For the Dinos?
No, maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. Well, maybe it could be. Maybe we can get a free sword out of it or something. I don't know. That would be cool. All right. So, off the air, you and I were talking about you went to a baseball clinic in Florida and you got some of your bobbleheads signed. Tell us a little bit about that, I guess.
It was actually pretty cool. The camp was run by Ray's minor leaguer. Why is the name escaping me?
Was his last name Edwards by chance? I think you mentioned it.
Yeah, Xavier Edwards.
Okay.
So his dad, Javon, is one of the organizers of the event. They actually had a bunch of first-round draft picks that are from the area, as well as a couple of pro guys that I know, well, one of which I know very well, and the other one burst on the scene towards the end of the season with Cleveland, Tristan McKenzie and Tuki Toussaint of the Braves. So they were there, so I had a couple of pieces to get autographed, which they graciously did. I think they were kind of surprised somebody actually brought stuff to get autographed, because what I think that the players were actually doing was Mr. Edwards had a bunch of baseballs for either a raffle or something for the kids, and every player that was there was signing them. So I think there's like 40 some odd balls that they signed.
Nice.
Nice little gesture for the kids.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, it was with black Sharpie, so probably about a week later you wouldn't even be able to tell who was on the balls, but it is what it is.
Right. Well, I'm sure it was still a good experience with the kids, not only for getting the baseballs, but also the instruction and meeting the players. And I mean, a lot of them, you said, are prospects, so I mean, who knows? They could be future stars. I mean, we could be talking about down the road.
You never know. And it was kind of shocking myself, because other than the two pro guys, I knew that they were going to be first rounders from the area, but actually a friend of mine who goes to FIU was also one of the instructors. So we kind of bumped into each other as all the players were checking in, and I was like, dude, what are you doing? And his high school coach was there too, the one where I originally met the kids. So that was kind of shocking as well.
Oh, man. I tell you, you're like the Kevin Bacon of the baseball world. That's awesome. That's pretty cool.
I prefer Kevin Costner myself, but
Yeah, I would too. I mean, Kevin Costner definitely made more and probably better baseball-centric movies than I remember Kevin Bacon making. But you know,
exactly. But anytime you're making bacon, it's kind of cool, also.
Definitely. Yeah, we spoke a little bit about that off the air too, but I digress. All right, so you mentioned you were watching a few ball games at a time in the Caribbean. Let's start talking about some of those leagues. As we usually do, let's start talking about the Dominican Republic. What were your observations about some games down there?
Well, right now, it's the bottom of the eighth in this game between the Estrellas and the Leones de Escogido. The Estrellas are leading 1-0 in the eighth. So it's a very close game. And this is what they consider a 2 out of 3 mini playoff. So, and I believe the Estrellas won yesterday, which, by the way, was the debut of Robinson Cano, the currently suspended major leaguer.
No kidding.
And he had a very productive game. He had a homer and I believe a double as well.
That's interesting. And this goes back to something we spoke a little bit about last week. I think when we were talking about Manny and the ABL, you had mentioned that you didn't think any suspensions or anything from Major League Baseball carried over to that league. Obviously, it applies to Dominican Republic. Cano's suspension doesn't.
It doesn't apply to winter leagues and or international.
Okay. All right. So this is a mini playoff, and I'm guessing the eventual winner of this will be seeded for the Caribbean series. Am I not mistaken? Or?
No. This is a mini playoff, and the winner of this gets to play the team that had the bye in the league standings at the end of the season, which I believe was the Gigantes del Cibao, because they had a situation last week where you could have finished, with the amount of games that they had, you actually could have finished in a 4-way tie for first, and there was this huge complicated tiebreaker scenario that they were breaking down before the last game. So the whole thing was a big mishmash. So they invented this 2 out of 3 mini playoff, which is, I guess, I don't know.
Oh, I see. So it was almost kind of.
These Caribbean leagues.
Yeah.
Especially with COVID.
That's interesting. So it sounds almost, because of the ties or tiebreakers, it sounds almost like not a play-in game, but almost like a play-in series, I guess, even. I don't know, kind of like, yeah. So, okay. All right.
Because usually what happens in the Dominican series is the regular season would end somewhere around Christmas, and then basically the entire month of January would be a tremendous round robin between the top 4 teams.
Huh.
And towards the end, the teams with the best records from the round robin would eventually meet for the championship. And, of course, the winner represents the Dominican Republic in the Caribbean World Series.
Oh, okay. That's very cool.
The thing that I like about these leagues, especially, I know this happens in Mexico, where if you lose during the playoffs, the players from the losing teams get dispersed among the rest of the teams that are still in the playoff situation.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So it's kind of like a dispersal league and kind of helps out the winning teams get closer to the Mexican League.
Huh.
So that's kind of a fun thing that they do. They have little dispersal drafts at the end of every round.
Right.
So sometimes you'll look up winter league statistics and you'll see guys that have actually played for 3 different teams by the time the season is over and playoffs are over and so on.
Interesting. Now, have they always done that, or is that a new thing to that league?
I know that's in Mexico. I don't know if they do that in Dominican or Venezuela. As far as I knew, maybe in Venezuela, not so much in the Dominican. But when it comes right down to it, the team that represents each country in the Caribbean World Series is all a mishmash of players anyway.
Oh, okay.
It's just that they'll have the country's uniform on the front and usually a patch where each player played, like on the side or something.
Oh, okay.
Every year the jerseys change, and as a matter of fact, the Dominican jerseys for a period of time were actually made by a sporting goods organization not too far from Yankee Stadium, a place called Niekro Sports.
Oh, no kidding.
Because they always would make the jerseys for the Dominican League for the Caribbean Series.
I wonder if A-Rod or any of the other Yankees players, because they had quite a few from Dominican Republic, I wonder if there was any connection with that.
Doubt it. And I think the one time that I went in there, I actually asked them about that, and I don't think there was a connection there.
Okay.
But it's like a little storefront hole in the wall where apparently they do have decent business.
Right. Okay. That's what's going on with the Dominican Republic. What about as far as Mexico? Have you had a chance to watch any of their games?
Mexico, I've been watching. Looks like the Yankees are going to take the whole division thing and possibly have a bye. And just, it's not like a final situation in the KBO, where the team in first place gets a total bye for the playoffs and doesn't play until the finals, but I think they get a one-round break.
Okay.
So it's kind of a cool thing to us.
All right. Okay, so already it looks like Dominican Republic and Mexico, they're in their postseason, while we have some other leagues that are just starting up. And one thing I got to say, Eric, I mean, you've been mentioning as far as different ways to watch some of these games. I'm going to give a shout out to that all baseball group on Facebook, because I've been watching several links from, and I'm sure you have too, of different leagues. Now, for those of you who aren't skilled enough to get a VPN or don't want to invest the money or whatever, all baseball, they've had links to, I watched not only the Colombia League from there, but I just saw they had a live link to Puerto Rico, and I've been watching some of their ball games. And a lot of these leagues, it's kind of interesting, just, how they vary in quality or just overall presentation, not necessarily good or bad, just different of how they present the ball games. I mean, Colombia is pretty standard. It seems like it's, just what you would expect from an ESPN or SPO or anything like that. Puerto Rico is kind of interesting. I was watching one game where they had one camera mounted high above home plate. It looked like probably like the top of the stadium. And it seemed like they had a simulcast of the particular team, that the home team playing. It was like their radio broadcast. And it sounded, and teams in America do that too, with minor league teams. I've seen with NFL preseason games, that kind of thing. They do that. But it was kind of cool. They showed live video, but the audio sounded like just like an AM radio broadcast of the Puerto Rican baseball game from the Roberto Clemente Stadium. And then they show the commercials for their different sponsors, many of them being bars and restaurants and stuff. A lot of places quite frankly, I think I would like to go to, Eric. You were mentioned last week about holiday candy. I think there were quite a few of them in those commercials. So I think that's probably what they were trying to appeal for. So, but.
Well, I know for the Puerto Rico leagues, there's very few channels that actually carry it.
Mm-hmm.
And as a matter of fact, what they've been doing, and it's kind of ironic that it's on the Venezuelan channel on my cable system, it's literally the same guys that will broadcast in Venezuela, and they will do a remote broadcast of the Puerto Rico game.
Huh. So you say...
But it's like they're broadcasting from Venezuela of a delayed broadcast or possibly live from Puerto Rico.
Interesting. So he's kind of like Boog Jian being it, kind of like what ESPN did with the Korean broadcast.
Yeah, more or less, without the ugly faces in the background pictures.
Yeah, okay, there you go. But, that's the way it should be, doggone it. But anyway. Alright, but anyway, I mean, that's, folks, if you want to watch some international baseball on the cheap, that's probably the way to go. And the Colombian games have been fun. I mean, I was half joking last week about the one game with the umpire and his colorful language. Did not see that with any games this weekend, but, you know, that was still a lot of fun with that league. But
They calmed down. There was nothing really controversial this week in Colombia, thank God.
Right, yeah, definitely. Although the game that I saw on Saturday night, they have like a national lottery, and they had like a lottery drawing, kind of like between, like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's daily in Colombia. They will, like, as the game is going on, the broadcast will immediately switch to the lottery drawing of the day, and that happens not only in Colombia, but it used to happen constantly in the Dominican also.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
Where the channels would automatically switch. Unfortunately, they wouldn't even do like a split screen, and you know, it was like the world stopped, even though the game would go on.
Right.
You had to play your lottery winners.
So it was like a 10-minute lottery commercial.
I mean, the girls in there were pretty hot.
Oh yeah, the ones I saw on this particular show, definitely, most definitely.
Oh yeah. So that's always a plus. You know, every once in a while you wish you'd shut up for 2 seconds to try and get a score in, but then you look at her, that's good the game.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say, yeah, she can talk all she wants. Even if it is in Spanish, I can't understand. You know, I'll get you to translate, and then I don't know, maybe get you, and we'll both try to buy some tickets down there. You know.
Not wrong, boy. I wish there was a way to like do something on the. There probably is.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's worse. Some of the broadcaster names in Australia, one in particular that was commentating on the games this weekend.
Okay.
So I don't know what's worse: his actual name or the dubbing of not only Dr. Ho, but now Frank Thomas into Spanish in their commercials between innings in the Dominican game.
Is it the same commercials that Frank Thomas has here for that, I don't know, that supplement or whatever?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
And as I heard Frank Thomas do a Spanish accent before.
Oh, jeez, it was.
So it's obviously, you know, some doofus that they got dubbed into, you know, it's Frank Thomas' face and body, but Jorge Perez's voice. He uses the name facetiously, of course. And then, of course, Dr. Ho, who is played by Johnny Lopez or somebody like that. I don't know. But that's a whole other thing entirely. No, but the guy who was doing the games this weekend over in Australia, did you catch his name at all? Because I did.
No, unfortunately.
The guy's name was Warwick Pettybridge.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, I always knew Australians had the tendency for some oddball names. But, I mean, there are a couple of Warwicks in Australia. There's one actually pitched in the majors for the Tigers, and now he's back in Australia at Warwick Softball.
Okay.
So I know the first name, but Peppy Bridge? Come on.
Yeah, Warwick Peppy Bridge. That sounds like a character in, like, I don't know, a Charles Dickens novel or something. I don't know. That's a pretty kind of a strange name, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, honestly,
And the fact,
yeah.
the commentators with him, you know, when you have to hear his name thrown the entire game.
Right. Now, I watched. Now, this is one thing I liked about the ABL. And last week I was very critical about them, but this is one thing I think is cool with what they broadcast on their YouTube channel. Not only do they have they repeat the streams of the entire game, but then they have what's called condensed games, which is basically it's just the highlights. But the highlights, what I like about them, it's not just, you know, like a Sports Center, you know, like a Scott Van Pelt just saying, okay, and this guy went deep or whatever. It still has the call of the ball game from that time, which sometimes it sounds kind of disjointed because sometimes, like, their color commentator will actually get into an interesting conversation, but it'll get cut off because the guy struck out, and then they'll go to the next inning or whatever. But, I mean, I liked it because it condensed the games from 3 hours into a half hour, you know, so I was able to watch some of that, but...
Right. It's kind of like they do in America, like at a Yankee game, you know, when they'll do Yankees in 30 or Knicks in 60 or something like that. You know, only show the good parts, if there are any.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. All right. Okay, well... All right, do you have any other observations of any games in the Caribbean leagues or anything?
Well, this game now going into the ninth, Escogido still leads 1-0. Estrella, leads 1-0 top of the ninth.
All right.
The Venezuela game, as I move my thumbs, let's see where we go from here. And it's funny because it doesn't even say that it's got the game on. The TV description says like a soap opera, but the Navegantes de Magallanes actually just started, so this must be another game. And it's bottom of the first. They've got a 1-0 lead on the Lara Cardinals.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
They might have had actually 2 games on there. Good for Venezuela.
Yeah, awesome for them.
Something else for me to watch besides syndicated reruns.
There you go. There you go. Okay. All right. Well, on that note, folks, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, have a few hot stove items from throughout the league. Some of them not only hot stove, but also a hot chicken fryer or grill or whatever you want to call it. We'll explain as we come back from the break. You're listening to Pro Baseball World Tour here on RGC Multimedia. We'll be right back. Alright folks, welcome back to Pro Baseball World Tour here on RGC Multimedia. Rick Crabb, Eric Marenbach. And we are taking our World Tour. We're going to skip a few countries back and forth because we do have some news of some items in the major leagues as well as in the KBO. And it looks like we have a player going from Japan to the major leagues. We have, and then we also have some news from the Australian Baseball League, and that affects the end of, well, later portion of this show, and as we'll explain. So, but anyway, we'll start off. Looks like we had a death, unfortunately, in the baseball family. Five-time All-Star Hall of Famer Phil Niekro passed away. A pitcher, he was known to be like the master of the knuckleball. I was listening to the sports talk earlier today. They had a local announcer basically describe his knuckleball as his knuckleball that didn't knuck, which was his words, which was kind of, I don't know, it was a knuckleball that fooled a lot of people. Obviously it did. But, definitely condolences to his immediate family, his friends, associates, and of course fans of Mr. Niekro. Eric, I think this is like a few other players that we've talked about that have passed earlier this year. They may have been just before our time, even though we're young old-timers. Do you have any memories about Mr. Niekro?
Between his Braves career and he actually did pitch for the Yankees for a little bit.
That's right, I remember. Yeah, was that the last team he played for? I know that was kind of late in his career, but I've forgotten about that, actually.
Yeah, he pitched, I think it was well into his 40s.
Okay.
That's the thing about knuckleball pitchers. They don't worry about, velo, 98, 99, 100 miles an hour velo, because these knuckleballs, if they're going anywhere from 60 to 70, that's a fastball to them. So, and the key to a knuckleball, as everybody knows, is how it dances, or how it just like leaves the hand. You never know where it's going to go. You never know if it's going to break. You never know where it's going to break to. You're taking your chances with every pitch.
Right.
Some successful than others. The Niekro brothers, and I'm talking Phil and Joe, had great success with it.
Oh, okay.
And as a matter of fact, that is one of the bobbleheads that are signed in my collection from when he played with the Braves. I think I got it signed during his Braves career before he came to the Yankees. I'm not exactly sure about the timeline, but
okay.
I do remember Phil very well. And it was kind of unfortunate. I mean,
Yeah.
Pretty much his time has come. He was, 81 years old? He died of some sort of cancer?
Yeah, I knew he passed from 81. Yeah, I figured it was like natural cause, or, I didn't see what the cause was of that. I just saw his age. And
I believe it was cancer related, nothing to do with COVID or anything like that. But.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, again, condolences to the Niekro family regarding that. All right, we have some other news that we'll go into. Looks like we had... Now, I had found this story originally because it was related to the holidays, and I thought it was kind of funny. And even though it's not an actual baseball story, it came from the Japan Ball website, but they had related a story about a curse of the Hanshin Tigers related to Kentucky Fried Chicken. Let's go to the holiday story first, just because it was kind of funny, and he mentions that. This is coming from the Japan Ball website, a group, if you're not familiar with folks, who's not only a great resource for learning about Japanese baseball teams, but they actually have a travel service. They actually organize tours of the NPB, so once COVID gets straightened out and international travel is a thing again, and going to sporting events is a thing again, I would definitely look them up. I'm actually considering doing that myself, but I digress. We have this story. It says, Beyond Baseball, Kentucky for Christmas, Japan's KFC tradition. All right. So, this is written by a gentleman named Sam Keisler. As we've discussed before on the Japan Ball site, Kentucky Fried Chicken's Colonel Sanders has a special place in NPB lore. The Hanshin Tigers were supposedly cursed by the Colonel after a group of fans celebrating the team's 1985 Central League pennant threw a statue of the fast food icon into the Dotonbori Canal. The Tigers won that year's Japan series, but have yet to win another since. Granted, the infamous curse of the Colonel is more fiction than fact. Japan Ball writer and Hanshin Tigers superfan Trevor Raichura put together an impressive write-up explaining the Tigers' play on his website, which you can see here. And it's a hyperlink to that, and I'll read that later after we finish this article. However, the Colonel isn't just known for baseball in Japan. Americans may not realize it, but for many Japanese households, KFC is a long-standing Christmas tradition. Each holiday season, more than 3.5 million Japanese families flock to the American fast food restaurant to partake in the company's special Christmas Party Barrel promotion. The tradition extends back almost 50 years and was the brainchild of Japan's first KFC restaurant manager, Takeshi Okawara. His new restaurant was struggling to gain customers when he was invited to bring chicken and dress up as Santa Claus at a Catholic school Christmas party. He sang and danced with a bucket of chicken and was a huge hit with the kids. Knowing that the turkey was difficult to obtain in Japan, he began to market KFC as a substitute for the traditional Western holiday dinner over the next few years. To promote this, he dressed up the Colonel Sanders statues in front of KFC franchises as Santa Claus, which effectively attracted customers. He also publicly claimed that eating KFC was an American tradition, capitalizing on what he perceived as a Japanese tendency to emulate American popular culture. In 1974, KFC began a marketing campaign called Kurisumasu Niwa Kentucky, or Kentucky for Christmas. And we'll scroll down a little bit. They actually have a couple YouTube inserts of those commercials if you so desire, folks. These marketing campaigns featured commercials like the one above that showed happy Japanese families gathering around the table to enjoy a classic red and white KFC bucket overflowing with fried chicken. Other commercials featured a song that has since become a holiday classic in Japan, even though it's not typically considered a Christmas song in the United States. My Old Kentucky Home. Oh, jeez. I don't know, it sounds like something John Denver would sing, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, over the years, Japan's KFC Christmas tradition has continued to develop. Each holiday season, statues of the Colonel outside of the KFC restaurants continue to get dressed up like Santa Claus. Some Japanese people are even known to get the two characters mixed up. The menu has continued expanding as well. Now, instead of just fried chicken, different Christmas dinner packages can include wine, chocolate cake, side dishes, or a whole roasted chicken. Hey, KFC, you're holding out on us in the United States, man. You gotta introduce this over here. That sounds pretty cool, actually. Out of Japan's population of more than 126 million, only around 1.5% of the citizenry, or 2 million people, are practicing Christians. Despite this, the Kentucky for Christmas promotion increases revenue at certain KFC Japan locations by a massive amount. A 2018 financial report analyzing monthly trends for KFC Japan shows that monthly sales in December of 2018 were almost double the monthly sales of May 2018. A CNN report states that December 24th is KFC Japan's busiest day of the year. KFC restaurants in Japan can sell upwards of 5 to 10 times as much food on December 24th as they would on an average sales day at a different time of the year. KFC also said that Christmas dinner packages make up around a third of the company's yearly sales in Japan. For many years, this year's Christmas is going to be unlike any other year before. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, many of us won't be able to travel or gather with our loved ones this year. For those families that normally cook an entire turkey, that's going to leave a lot of leftovers. So maybe this year we can try an international tradition instead. Forget about the turkey. Why not a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken for Christmas? So there you have it. Apparently KFC is caught on in Japan. They're like Cheap Trick, I guess. I don't know. But,
I wish we could have,
what's that?
I wish we could have done that here.
Well,
unfortunately, my parents don't believe in fried chicken anymore.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Too fat, very bad. Yeah.
Well, maybe, I don't know, maybe you can get the wine that comes with the Christmas dinner packages. Maybe that might, I don't know, change their minds. I don't know. They could persuade them.
I'm still wondering how they got the Colonel's secret herbs and spices all the way over to Japan. I mean, there's got to be some sort of alteration, I would think.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. Oh, maybe they have 11 different herbs in Japan. I don't know. So,
I don't know. I have to find out. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe we take a trip with Japan Ball. We can find out on our own. It wouldn't surprise me that during their tour they probably stop at a few KFCs, but I don't know. We'll see. All right. Well, as we mentioned, there was a hyperlink regarding a curse of Colonel Sanders for the Hanshin Tigers, and I'm going to go to that link right now. It's in the Hanshin Tigers English News. I guess an English language website for the Tigers. So, you've probably vaguely heard of the mysterious link between Colonel Harlan Sanders, founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken, and the Hanshin Tigers Baseball Club. But let me drop 2 bombs on you. The information you heard was filled with inaccuracies, and the curse is a hoax. Still, the story behind the curse is not without its charm. So here's my attempt to concisely but accurately recount what happened. This is according to the columnist for the Hanshin Tigers English News. First, the background. The Tigers won the Central League pennants in 1962 and 1964, but quickly fell into bridesmaid role as the Yomiuri Giants peeled off 9 straight championships in the subsequent years. After that, the team bumbled into mediocrity for another decade or so, until at long last they had a magical season in 1985. With a few games left, and needing a tie or win against the Yakult Swallows at Meiji Jingu Stadium on October 16th, the team came from behind, knotted the score at 5, and recorded 3 outs in the home half of the final inning to ensure themselves first place for the first time in 21 years. Fans in the Kansai area, hundreds of miles from their heroes, could not control their joy. Gathering outside of the Dodomabori Canal, they began to sing out the players' cheer songs one by one, according to the team's batting order. For reasons only known to the delirious and inebriated, a fan resembling each player would jump into the sludgy, highly polluted river upon the completion of his song. Mayumi, jumper. Hirota, jumper. Randy Bass, no doppelganger, no jumper. Luckily, some intoxicated fans had a brilliant idea. They stormed a nearby Kentucky Fried Chicken and attempted to abscond the smiling statue of Harlan Colonel Sanders from outside the shop. The first Colonel statue, incidentally, was brought back to Japan from Canada in 1971. From then on, the Colonel has stood guard outside of Japanese KFC shops. Recently, though, they have been converting the statues to sitting Sanderses. Despite the staff's frenzied attempts to stop the mob, the drunken hooligans got violent with them, kidnapped the Colonel, hoisted him in the air multiple times, sang Bass's cheer song, and threw the statue into the river. It sank into the murky waters, and from that time on... And here's a few things that they list happened since then. Star slugger Masayuki Kakifu got beamed on April 20th, 1986, ending a 663-game Ironman streak. A month later, he returned for 11 days before injuring his shoulder while in the field. He suffered a third injury that August, breaking another bone. He ultimately retired after the 1988 season at the tender age of 33. Good Lord. Ace pitcher Chikafusa Akita broke his heel bone while covering first base in May 1986. The team finished the 1987 season with its worst winning percentage ever, .331. Bass was dismissed in the middle of the 1988 season when he failed to return to Japan after an extended time in America where he was taking care of his ill son. The team lost out on 12 consecutive first-round draft pick lotteries, including Kazuhiro Kayuhara, Hideo Nomo, Hideki Matsui, Sho Nakata, and Yosei Kikuchi. The streak ended in 2012 when manager Yutaka Wada pulled the winning ballot in the Shintaro Fujinami sweepstakes. The team did not win another pennant until 2003, an 18-year gap, most of which was spent at or near the bottom of the standings. Then again, it wasn't a true curse because the Sanders incident happened immediately after the team won the CL pennant. In other words, contrary to most English reports out there, the Nippon series had not yet been played. If the jinx started when the statue sank, then how could they have won the Nippon series 2 weeks later? They have not won it at all since 1985, mind you. But did the Colonel hex the team from the bottom of the Dotonbori saying, you can win the Nippon Series this year, but never again? So how did this curse become an urgent legend anyway? This, in my opinion, is the fun part of the story. For the first two seasons after the incident, no one spoke of any curse. It was just baffling that such a strong team could so quickly become so weak. Nothing more. Well, there was, and still is, a popular late-night TV show called Night Scoop, on which viewers send in questions or requests for the show to solve particular mysteries. On the first request answered by the show in March 1988, they were commissioned to recover the sunken statue of the Colonel. When they tried but failed 4 times over the course of the month, the host of the new show apparently said, until the Colonel is rescued and cleansed of the sludge, Hanshin has no hopes of winning a championship. And so a legend, a myth, a curse is born. As the years went by and the team continued to embarrass itself, more and more credibility was given to the myth. But then, with the Colonel still in Davy Jones's locker, the team won the pennant in 2003. So was the curse on the team winning the pennant or the championship? If the former, then the curse lasted nearly 18 dreadful years but ended on September 15, 2003. If the latter, then one could argue that the curse started on October 16, 1985, and ended on November 2, 1985. A grand total of 17 days. In either case, let's flash forward to March 10, 2009. During the annual routine cleaning of the Dotonbori Canal, at around 4 p.m., Osaka City workers discovered something. And this video clearly shows the infamous incident happened on October 16th, not November 2nd. Check the 57-second mark. And I'm going to just scroll past that. They have a YouTube link inserted there. Okay. It was the Colonel. First, his body, albeit handless, was found around 180 meters from where he first dove into the grime. Incidentally, night scoop divers had searched up to 150 meters downstream, so they were pretty close. A proper search for the rest of the statue was scheduled for the next day, and took just 3 minutes to find the right hand. Short time later, the lower half of his body was found, and for the first time in 24 years, Colonel Sanders was able to stand near the Dotonbori Canal. Relief swept across the Tigers nation, and expectations were that the team would win it all in 2009. They would finish in 4th in the Central out of the playoffs. With no Japan Series championships yet since 1985, the curse continues to this day. So where is the recovered statue of the Colonel now? Before we get to that, let's look at its travels over the past decade. Oh boy. First, it had to be ceremonially cleansed at a shrine in the Kansai area. That was part of the conditional clause in the curse, remember? Then, at incumbent manager Akinobu Mayumi's urging, the statue went on public displayed at a Kentucky Fried Chicken shop just outside of Koshien Stadium in March 2010. It remained there for 3 years, but as the team continued to flounder, it was clear that its presence near the stadium was not helping the team. If anything, it was just a business gimmick. You think? At that point, AFC had it shipped off to the Tokyo area where it was kept at company headquarters. There was a period during which guests and staff alike could enjoy seeing the restored statue, which was still without its left hand and glasses. However, eventually it was put under lock and key, accessible to only a limited number of executives. Okay, there you go, Eric. That's probably where they kept the 11 herbs and spices. Okay.
That's possible.
Yep. Okay, article continues. Then in 2017, when KFC's headquarters was moved to Yokohama, the statue was returned to the KFC office in Osaka, where it had become a good luck charm of sorts. Someone forgot to tell the Hanshin Tigers so, though. The team is still looking for its second Japan Series championship since the Colonel was tossed in the river. So there you have it. You have the curse of the Bambino, you have the goat curse of the Cubs, and now you have the Kentucky Fried Chicken curse of the Hanshin Tigers. Oh my gosh. Did you hear this story before we read this article, Eric? Or?
I have never heard of it, and as far as I'm concerned, between those other two curses, the curse of the Bambino and the Billy Goat, this is nothing. And all this is, I think it's more of a vegetarian curse. against chicken. What I would love to know is if they're selling chicken in the stands at Hanshin Tiger games.
Right.
If so, if it's a rival to KFC.
Yeah, they might be, I don't know, maybe they might want to go with that Nene chicken in Korea that we see on the Twitch broadcast, I don't know, or somebody else, or maybe contact somebody in Baltimore, get some Royal Farms sent over there, I don't know.
You're skipping with that crazy Korean woman again.
Yeah. And teasing the little girl with the dessert or whatever, it's like, oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
That poor little girl has nightmares.
Yes.
Yeah, their chicken commercials are interesting. You have that, or you have that one hot actress eating like the hot chicken and, I don't know, making it look like you can incorporate that chicken into foreplay. Or you just have other people just eating chicken and licking their lips and smacking and drooling and, I don't know. They're actually kind of nasty, but it's just my opinion. I don't know. Maybe it's just a cultural difference. I don't know. But it was like that.
Something about chicken foreplay that's kind of scary too.
Yeah, I mean they're playing jokes that could be written about that, and we are not going there. No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. All right. Well, in a little bit, Eric, we'll talk about one place where you can watch baseball and enjoy Kentucky Fried Chicken or your other favorite brand of chicken or meal of choice, drink of choice, etc. And we'll be doing that with the Australian Baseball League. But before we get to what we're going to be doing with that league, do you have any observations about the league that happened this week?
You can't be remiss about any of the hot stove stuff without mentioning two important moves, both of which happened in the last couple of days, where you had a major trade with Blake, don't you dare take me out in the fifth inning, Snell, getting sent up Padres in a major deal. And the Padres, in turn, picking up posted free agent from the KBO, Hanshin Tigers.
Oh, very nice. Okay. Thank you. I'll mention to you off the air what happened with that. I had a link with that, and I had a link with the Rangers pitcher that they got from the Ham Fighters. I forgot his name at the moment. That was a big splash, I think, there as well. So.
Yeah, but this is somewhat bigger, I would think.
Definitely.
Especially since, and kind of a shameless plug also, I think our buddy Daniel Kim was really kind of hoping that Kim would go to the Blue Jays to join Ryu. He comes to the States, and all of a sudden, boom, he's a Padre.
Right. That would be interesting, especially since you have another prominent Korean player on the Blue Jays that could acclimate him, I guess, to North America and their style of ball. So, I mean, but, I don't know, it's probably a good move for the Padres, so good for them, I guess. But
both moves together make them a hell of a formidable team. I mean, now the Padres have an ace in Snell to build around, and they've got him controllable for the next, I think it's 3-some years.
And you got to think that it's got to be heartbreaking for the Tampa Bay Rays fans, because, I mean, there was the frustration first of them wanting Snell to pitch longer in the World Series and then being yanked prematurely. And then you see him be traded off season, though. So, I mean, if he would, some probably think that if he would have stayed longer in the game, Tampa Bay would have won that series, and he could have probably, I don't know, maybe been an MVP for that series. Who knows? But
he would have written his own paycheck. But the very fact that he not only got pulled in that game, and then, what was it, a couple of weeks later, when there was, I forget the news story at that time, but Snell put on his Twitter, "It's a bad day for Tampa."
Oh, gosh.
You knew that the writing was on the wall, that he was going somewhere.
Mm.
And now there's the big game of what if, as far as the other teams that could have gotten him, what their packages could have, would have, should have been.
Mm.
I know that's happened in Yankee land. It's like, if the package for the Padres was this, what could the Yankees have offered, and or what were the Rays asking the Yankees for?
Mm.
Which is always the good what if. But
yeah.
You know what? Good for the Padres. Gives the Dodgers a run for their money, and it's going to be an interesting next season.
I'll throw another what if out there. Can you imagine if you were a Tampa Bay fan and the team he would have been traded to would have been the Dodgers? God, how much of a gut punch would that have been, man? Mm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even think. But I don't even know if the Dodgers were even in the sweepstakes. If they even, put forth a package after making the Betts deal the year before. So I don't think they had much system left.
No.
At least the Padres had something to offer.
Right, yeah. True that. Hmm. So those were definitely some big moves in not only in the majors, but in KBO and beyond. So good luck with those players and their new endeavors and their new teams as well. So good for them. All right, folks. Well, I had mentioned earlier about eating chicken or your food of choice and watching it along with some baseball, and that's what we'll be doing at the conclusion of this episode. Basically, what we're going to be doing is we encourage you to keep not only this channel running, because we'll still have live chat for the next 3 or 4 hours or so, but we encourage you to open a second window on YouTube. What we're going to do is have a watch-along game. We'll be watching a delayed broadcast from the ABL. And it's a delayed broadcast mainly because of the time differences between Australia and where we live, which is the Atlantic coast of the United States. But it will be a game with the Perth Heat against the Melbourne Aces. And we encourage you to watch along with that. You can watch the game along with us, comment about that, comment on what you're doing for New Year's, because as we'll be doing this, we'll be watching the ball game and, of course, counting to when we can finally get 2020 over with. My goodness, Eric. So, in addition to that, folks, I made an announcement with that. You have the option of obviously listening to the ball game as you do that, but if you would rather listen to some music, we try to make this little event kind of have an Australian motif. We're going to be playing a marathon of AC/DC while doing so. So you can listen to the AC/DC and watch the ball game. If you have friends, you have that friend who goes to like Super Bowl parties but just want to go there for the party, doesn't want to watch a sporting event, they can listen to the AC/DC and jam out. Or you can do both. You can, watch the game, listen to AC/DC. You can listen to the commentary too. I mean, it'll sound like almost like a nice little mashup or a soundtrack or whatever. But expect to have fun with this. I mean, this is just something we've been talking about doing, and we'll be doing that with this matchup as well. I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, Melbourne's the defending champions of the ABL, and one thing they tried to do in the offseason address some pitching issues, and Perth, it would be interesting to see what they can do, because their previous series were exhibition games against the Brisbane future teams. And it looked like they could match, but they're going against future team pitching. It'll be interesting to see what they can do against the Aces. I don't know. Do you have any What was your take on any of the ABL action that you've seen recently? Or
Yeah, I mean, the club ball was, kind of fun to watch. It's kind of like minor leaguers. But, and it's all because of COVID, where players can't travel beyond certain borders or whatever, and the New South Wales restrictions, so on and so forth. So it is kind of a downer, but at least they're trying to get some baseball in. It's not as bad as, like, the international mishmash leagues, independent mishmash leagues, I should say, that we attempted over the summer in a lot of the independent leagues around my area in New York and New Jersey and the Midwest and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it seemed like there were a few states trying different things with that, and I don't know. And like you had even said I think you had mentioned you had went to one in New Jersey where it was basically an independent team doing a split squad series and just presenting it as like a 4-game series kind of thing. But yeah, it's...
Yeah, and see, what bothered me was not necessarily the fact that it was mishmash, local players trying to impersonate an independent league, but to try and charge the same prices as you would for a normal independent league, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's not fair to the fans. I mean, they should be thankful that some fans want... I mean, I'm sure while there are a lot of fans that want to watch baseball, there are probably a lot of people who didn't feel safe going to a baseball game or anything with a large crowd. And the fact that you have people willing to do that and you're going to take advantage of them financially, yeah, that's not cool. Yeah, I agree.
And the very fact of the matter was, I mean, okay, the game that I went to, as you well know, was at Yogi Berra Stadium, and they had a protocol of 500. They didn't even get that at the games that I was going to. And, granted, that's at the end of the season, and it's, technically their playoff. But you're trying to get some sort of revenue in. You're only allowed to have 500. If you're getting 25% of that, you're lucky. And then to charge, that amount of prices for that, the whole thing just stunk.
Right.
But it was something for me to do and get out of the house. As far as I was concerned, that's why I kind of latched on to the 12-year-old kids with the Franklin Square Hitmen.
Right.
That was the least free, and it was, baseball.
Right. And it was with friends, too, that you already knew, too. So
Well, yeah, and hot moms. But
there you go.
Quite good.
Yeah, I know what you mean there. As far as these traveling leagues, I mean, the biggest stereotype with them used to be with soccer moms, but I guess that applies to baseball moms too. So,
absolutely.
All right, Eric. Well, listen. Do you have anything else to comment about any other leagues or going on in the baseball, or including, I guess, the games you're watching now, or?
Well, the Australians move on to the next round. They won their game 2-0 over Toledo. The Venezuela game that's on, Magallanes is leading 1-0 in the third. So that's early on, and it gives me something to watch on Monday other than sitcom repeats.
Okay, there you go. All right, well, that'll wrap things up for this episode of Pro Baseball World Tour. Hope everyone listening has a happy and safe New Year. Hope you will be joining us in 2021. We'll have plenty of baseball to talk to, and hopefully we'll have some better news to report as the seasons go on, including going into the summer leagues as well. So, yeah. Can't wait to get, I mean, people are saying this everywhere through different things, not only just through baseball, but sports in general, entertainment in general, life in general, to get this doggone year over with. My goodness.
Oh, I'm counting the seconds, trust me.
Okay. Well, as I mentioned, folks, you can count the seconds with us. Stay on this show. We'll keep the live chat open. We'll crank up some AC/DC and then put on a second window if you want to watch the ABL game with us, and we'll be commenting about that as well. So join us on that. We'll also have the Facebook group open as well for Pro Baseball World Tour. Love to see some pictures of what you're doing for your New Year's celebration, whether you're enjoying it at a friend's house or even if you're fortunate to go somewhere to celebrate it. Although, I don't know, a lot of the establishments in Maryland that are open are only open till 10 o'clock. So it's kind of, to me, it's kind of pointless if you can't count down to the 3, 2, 1 Happy New Year. If you have to go home 2 hours before that. But if you want to stay home and count down with us and watch some baseball while we're doing that, by all means, we invite you to do it. It's just something to do that's fun, it's safe, and, hopefully next year we can go to a venue somewhere together, folks, and watch it in person and then celebrate and watch the ball drop in Times Square and all that good stuff. So folks, once again, Happy New Year, and stay tuned and watch the ball game with us and enjoy our marathon of AC/DC. Thank you for watching.